All right, hey, welcome everybody tonight to the regularly scheduled NWISD ISD board meeting for August 17th. The time is 5:06 p.m. Mr. Slow will be joining us. It'll be just a little bit late this afternoon. He had a very important volleyball game to go to observe. He had one of the fun, so we'll go ahead and get started. Everything's been posted, everything like it's supposed to?
Yes, sir.
All right, so looks like we've got, we'll start with our pledges first.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
I'm here to praise you. Thank you for this opportunity to gather and make decisions for our precious children. We pray, Lord, that you will bless this year, keep everyone safe, help the children to learn and the teachers to be the best that they can be, and help us to do all things to your glory and our good. In Jesus' name I pray.
All right, looks like we've got a budget tax rate hearing.
Sure. Okay, so really, this year's been a little bit unique as we talked about. You guys should have a free form, a free page right there in front of you that's sort of kind of summary of everything where we have. We have not made any drastic changes to anything really since May because things have been pretty consistent from that perspective. If you use the state's template, it's going to predict that 1.6, almost 1.7 deficit that we've been talking about. But the problem or the challenge is that if you look at our actual revenues, and even that will have gone up a little bit, they're predicting that we're actually going to make 700,000 less than we did last year. And that's not saying that we lost students, that's just their template. So I mean, you get an idea historically of what they claimed we were going to do in that final column, the final versus projected. So when they do that, you see that the black means we've always come out to the positive, even when they predicted that we would be in the red. So I don't want to mislead anybody and say, oh, don't worry about it. If you use the template the way the template says, then currently you would have to say that that's where our deficit would be. If we use the real numbers of what we've gotten and we only just receive what we received this year, that's an additional 600,000 with no additional students, no grants, no anything. So that's really what we've talked about the last 4 meetings, and so we're still there. Just a couple of things to let you know about. As I said, this does not consider any growth or grants. The second page, just for your edification, is today's enrollment as of literally 4 o'clock this afternoon. We are now at 1093 that's enrolled attending students. That is about 15 plus students from, well, technically from our last day last year, it's up 40 students from our very last day. But, you know, they do that average daily attendance, so it depends on the student and the place, and you can kind of see, I have not gotten down a rabbit trail, I'm just pausing to show you that if you look at our numbers are pretty solid with the exception of first grade. We're sitting at 22-1 right now with 88 first graders. And one of the questions we're probably going to have to decide is, do we pull the trigger and do a 5th teacher? Do we wait and see if after Labor Day there's any change, plus or minus? There's really no place to pull from our current teaching staff. The most likely place to pull would be kindergarten, because that is a very small number. But I will say this, I don't think there's a good solution personally. If you pull a teacher, you'd go to 22-1 in kindergarten. 22 kindergartners in a room versus 22 first graders. I'm not sure either one, sort of pick your poison, you know, just being real honest. But with even younger students, that many, I'm just not sure that's really the road we want to go down. So.
Hire another counselor to.
Teachers.
We would just get
The staff counselor.
Yeah.
So this is what I would say for today. My recommendation would be that we need to put this on our radar, that we're probably going to have to address this sooner rather than later. But, the other, because there's other considerations like 22 bodies in a classroom, how tight that gets, especially in some of these classrooms that were built, some time ago. So we will probably come, I'm just guessing that we're probably going to come to you for a recommendation to do something sooner rather than later. But in the interest of trying to be as fiscally responsible as we can, we're trying to hold on. But again, I'll be completely clear. We can always apply for a waiver. They're gonna accept it. They've said that all along. They're fine with us putting 30 in the classroom. Our philosophy hasn't, and historically, we've tried to shoot for 20 or less. And so, I hate to play just numbers because it is kids. Right now, we're right at 22-1. But the other issue is, when you add an additional teacher, now you've got, only got we only wouldn't take 3 kids and put in there, we'd redistribute, evenly. That's the other reason we don't want to wait too long. We don't want to change too much. So I would expect sooner rather than later, we're probably going to have to talk about that.
We have a physical space though.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Yes, thank you.
Do we have any applicants right now?
We haven't posted anything.
Right.
We could, and we could go ahead and my recommendation would be to you, let's go ahead and post so that we're prepped. We don't have to move on it. If for whatever reason, if 3 or 4 move out, we go, gosh, it's going to be tight, but we think we can handle it, we can do that. But my recommendation would be that we go ahead and post the position, draw some candidates, that way we can move pretty quickly if that's the route we want to go.
I agree with that.
How long do you traditionally wait before you, I'm worried about like moving things
Sure.
around once they've gotten used to it.
So by law, you usually have to do 10 days for a posting position. Now, there are things that they deem emergency. School started, we could deem this an emergency. We could move pretty quickly if we had some good candidates. And I will just tell you, you can direct to go ahead and do that tonight. I would say we have to make a decision at least by the next board meeting at the latest. For the very reason that you just brought up, Ms. Mata. We want to make a move pretty quick. Now, we've had to do this a time or two in the past, and I will say usually, though not always, when there's an opportunity, though kids don't like to move, sometimes there are some kids who look around and go, wow, to be in a class of 16 versus 22, there are usually some people who want to. Can't promise that will happen every time. Usually we can counter. Would you concur with that, Ms. Forrester?
I will, but I do think with the younger kids, it is harder to move them later because they can get attached to their teacher and then they get acclimated to their students, that become their friends and those parents all, you know how y'all are, parents talk and so they know, and so.
Is it possible to do like an assistant or something? Would that help at this point? Or- I also kind of worry about the quality of a teacher that doesn't have a job right now.
I do have 2 people that have kind of let me know that they're interested. So I do have 2 people that are interested. Because Dr. Hill and I've talked about this, we've kind of known that our numbers were big in this grade level. So I do think one of them just moved back to this area. And so we're kind of late coming back to this area. And the other one is just somebody that just graduated. They had a 7 through 12 certification, but then they decided that maybe doing again for grade level would work out.
So traditionally, when you end up in this situation, do you really see the numbers drop? Like, is that what you expect to happen, or is that just a hope?
Probably not. With this, I will say that this year numerically, it's been very odd. And what I mean by that is traditionally, the first day of school, like let's say our enrollment was 1,100, we see it drop 50 to 60 kids, but it has every year. This year we dropped about 40, which is far less. Last year, from the first official day till about mid-October, we picked up 40 kids. So will that happen again? I mean, if that happens again, then this number is going to go up over 11, and it might even hit 1120. I don't know that we'll pick up that many, but it is a possibility. And so,
Not first graders.
exactly. What I might, if the board wants to consider, feeling comfortable with is, I believe you gave temporary hiring power through, so we could have already made that mark for me. The problem is that that either expires this month or next month. I believe it's September. So if you feel comfortable, if you say, hey, if in a week from now the member hasn't done it, go ahead. Technically, you've already given me that power and permission, and we can pursue that. But in fairness, that's not in your numbers right here, so you are adding to the bottom line. Is there another grade level? As you can see, kindergarten is the only one you possibly can pull somebody from, because that's the only grade that wouldn't exceed the 22-to-1 if you pull the teacher out. But like I said, then you're in the position that if we get 2 more kindergartners, now they're exceeding. So if your comfort level is to
And
try.
today, actually, we actually have one more first grader that'll be added to those numbers tomorrow.
She may have already added it, I don't know, because this was higher than yesterday's number, so.
Yeah, because we just met with a parent, that was a kid that was homeschooled last year.
Okay.
And she's nowhere ready for second grade, so we met with her after school today and moved her back to first grade.
So it's a good point to know. So I think that number probably will go. I will say that the other difficult point is that some of our populations have grown, like for example, first grade as a population has grown. And we've had, as we've discussed, a real large increase even since our last meeting in a population that requires a great deal of monitoring and special assistance, to the point that we're probably going to have to pull the trigger and get another person just from a safety standpoint of, and I don't want to identify anyone, but in a classroom where, let's say, there's 10 kids, it might feel like that seems too much to have a teacher and an aide, or even a second aide. But unfortunately, depending on the needs of students, and I'll just do hypothetical so we don't identify anyone, if it's a classroom where, let's say, 2 students are known to be what we call runners, which means any moment if that door is open, they're making a break for it because they just in their mind are trying to go. And then if there's 2 or 3 students who are unable to use restroom facilities, and then you get 1 or 2 who are nonverbal, all it takes is one moment of me trying to help you, the door opens and someone's thrown out the door, or vice versa. So it's a very difficult situation because of the high need, and just from the surface, you might walk by and go, man, it feels like they've got a lot of people in there taking care of kids. And it feels that way until you walk in your apartment. And when you're in a part of it, you're like, wow, this is very, very, very intense. Which the board has recognized that because you guys have approved and said, hey, the people who are in there deserve a little bit more things. So if you, as a board, feel comfortable sticking with what we passed, we can make that call and just simply let you know, hey, we're going to have to pull the trigger on first grade, and we're going to have to pull the trigger on an aide position.
Well, my
as long
thought-
as you do feel good about it. Yes, ma'am.
Since Ms. Forrester said that she has some qualified candidates, doing the math, 3 classes will have 18 and 2 17. I know about first grade classes, 18. That's a very comfortable group.
It is.
And so my suggestion is that we go ahead and do
And we can make that happen if the board feels comfortable.
She's comfortable with that, I'm comfortable with that.
it. I'm very comfortable.
Thank you.
I would recommend
I'd like
just,
to move
Our
this.
2 experts.
No,
That would make it perfect.
So that's another-
I don't think it makes sense to move it. I agree.
So I'm assuming it's not a motion. Do you need a motion? I mean, yeah, technically.
Technically, the reason you would is you're gonna be passing a budget that allows for that position, and you've given me higher power, but I would not do that. Like technically, I wouldn't have to bring that to you from what you guys have done for, but because it's something new, I would not do that without presenting that to the board.
Well,
So,
then that would allow us to go ahead and get it done.
Yeah, sooner the better.
yes, I think so. Yes. So we will pursue both of those things.
I know a
We
lot
need
of
to talk
changes.
about the sped teacher also.
Well, if you're okay, we will do that with the aide position as well. If we will only do it based on a requirement or a guidance, and we also realize, I think, in talking with Ms. Bailey, our special ed director, and talking with you guys, we've got to continually reevaluate that program about what we can do that's both safe, legal, where can we make changes? Can we make changes? And sometimes, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, you can correct me. Sometimes it is a stopgap for a year or two because you may get a couple who grow enough to go to either a different room or even a different campus, which might actually change the number of people we need in a more positive way and say, hey, this is a position we don't have to have. And so if you're good that we make those decisions, we will keep the board, informed if we need them.
Well, we let this person, I mean, I'm assuming there's a chance that we may have to transition this person next year to second grade.
I
Or
think
someone
yes,
to
I think
second
that is what we did. So we've only had to do this since I've been here a couple of times, but we did do that with one. We said, hey, we're bringing you on. There is a chance you'll have to move up unless, man, they're the great first grade teacher, but somebody else on the team would be a great second grade teacher. Then we may make a shift that
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
But we tell them that's very, very
Looking at the
likely.
numbers, it looks likely that we may have to follow them for a year.
I would think so, absolutely. We have done that. A long time ago, we actually had a deal where we had enough in one class intermediate where we needed 4 teachers. So they had to go 4th, then 5th, then the next year they had to go back down to 4th because another big class came, so they actually had to bounce back and forth. So that's, yes, sir. You do.
By the time we went to 4th and were separated.
Yep.
Necessary, so that teacher went to the 4th grade.
Yeah.
And somebody left.
One other issue, under the bulletin point about food service, well, this is about food service, Ms. Beck told us. By the way, we've said this before, she's done a really great job. I think our deficit this year, probably half of what last year was.
500,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's about 100,000 improvement, and that's not even being here a full year, so, kudos to her for the work she's done. And, yes, we appreciate that.
Very.
Hopefully that helps with other teachers.
She's also the teacher.
So there is a recommended, which does not mean required, but a recommended food service calculator out there that actually recommends that we should increase our prices yet again fairly substantially. And as you recall, the board just did this about 6 months ago. Now, you don't have to do this. In visiting a little bit with Ms. Betfold, in visiting Mr. Gray, his help, I looked at it. We could increase that, and technically, that does help offset your cost even more. But it would be a fairly large increase, and our suggestion on the heels of just having a large increase might be either wait till mid-year or next year before making another big jump. We all know that groceries goes up every day. That's not a surprise to anybody. I want to say, do you remember what it is on top? Is it another,
25 cents.
I think it was 15 to 20 cents per meal.
Percentage wise, I'd say that, 5%, 10%.
If-
55 right now, I think.
Yeah, if you look at about, so it's going to be right about a little over 10 to 15% jump.
So how much is lunch?
Depends on which
Right now, it
campus.
depends on which campus.
So high school.
High
High
school.
school, it's
410, it's 410. is that right?
Or any higher than that, what's the highest one? Is that right?
High school is high.
Yes.
10%, so 40 cents.
Yeah, I think they're 25, so they're a little bit lower, but the other ones will all be, and I will say that usually it impacts our younger kids more. High school will do a variety of things.
Sure.
Like beg their parent to get them a sandwich and what's that kind of deal. Speaking not from this, but anyway, yeah, it's a big.
I think we wait.
That would be my recommendation to you.
I think in view of the economy, we don't need to go further.
And I think you're right, Ms. Goffney, I think they'll all understand because they know the prices, but I think anything we can do to help. Ms. Beck told in defense of her, is like, okay, but that is a little bit less money that, I don't want y'all to think that we're doing a good job this year. No, we do.
Do we want to do a small increase like at mid-year?
That would be our first
I'm not for
recommendation.
doing it this year,
Yeah.
but I mean, not this semester,
Yeah.
but at some point, maybe a small one, and
Yes.
then we'll do the next one at the beginning of next school year.
Our recommendation was to try to look sort of at the fall and kind of see, hey, do we have more kids eating? Do we have not? Are we doing? Where are we? And then be able to make it smaller. If we needed to do it, it would be for January per se.
And 5, 10 cents is small.
Yeah.
next school year, what, 5 to 10
Yeah.
the rest of the way.
And we would revisit it and see what the numbers, bear out. It may be that we have no choice, or maybe like, hey, this isn't so bad, let's keep the course, but yes, absolutely.
Do you see that, like, with the last increase, and I'm sorry I'm asking these questions.
No.
I wasn't here for the last increase.
Sure.
When you increase, do you see the number of kids coming in buying their lunch decrease? Like, do we know what that correlation is?
I don't know that we can establish a firm correlation. Ms. Bechtold, do you have any, because Ms. Bechtold kind of has done a much better job bringing data in. So to be honest with you, she's only got kind of January to look at. I think our numbers are better than they were last year, but I will say it's really hard to isolate that because, again, to build them up, I think they've done a much better job of trying to offer some different programs, some different food, trying some different things. So I don't know that we can do a one-on-one correlation. I do know that helping reorganize, because we've attritioned 2 positions since you got here, I believe. And that's obviously a pretty large sum of the savings, but there's been a lot of other little pieces that are all there. So, having said all of that, there is, I don't know, there is another area that this one is gonna be probably the same thing, probably more of a mull it over, because it's a pretty big change, and that would be our cafeteria, and I believe the first or second year I was here, we actually did this, with the price of meals, if you go to feed your team after the game, and wherever you're at, you're not getting them for $6, you're not getting them for $7. Sometimes they'll cut us a deal, but in general, you guys have all had to buy a late night meal somewhere. It's pretty high. We can look at having cafeteria services provide a meal. And so that's really a mindset that we just would have to kind of embrace because, I think you could look at certain things like, well, how far are you going? If you're going a short distance, having a sandwich and chips might be palatable, pardon the pun, for a little easier than if I had to drive an hour and a half. Sure. And so, but, the trade-offs are you definitely aren't going to have anything hot. Whether it would have been hot when you got through Burger King or not, who knows? But that would be a way if we probably reduce the cost of the meal for feeding kids, and technically it goes back into the food budget. So there is an advantage, but anytime you make a big change like that, everybody's like, hey, we get on the bus and we're playing in wherever, and we're gonna have Whataburger, we're gonna have, well, here's your, and it's not an insult to the food, it's just it's a mindset shift.
I know Nate's excited. The other night they got chicken.
Oh, yeah.
Chicken strips.
Yeah.
It's something
different, like you said, it's a mindset.
It is.
The school lunch would be pretty well limited to like chicken strips or.
It's probably going to be a sack, probably think of like
Stay,
you gotta think sack lunch basically as a meal.
because if you gave them chicken strips, it would be leaving when they leave, so when they're on their way back, it was
Oh,
probably
you
not
want
good.
to bring it up there.
Yeah, hey, if we found our food truck shop.
Open our food truck.
Yeah, exactly, it might be different.
I think you're right.
Would you make the athletes pay for the sandwich?
Well, we've never made our athletes pay for their meals.
Yeah.
Now, has there been, I've heard that some districts do that, I just.
No, I'm not for that,
Yeah.
but it's not gonna help food budget, right?
Well, it would, because probably if they made a sandwich and chips and a water, or an apple and a water, that's probably going to be less than $11 per meal, I'm guessing.
We would probably find a price point per person like they would as if they were going out to eat, but it would be less than what they're paying.
Right.
So it would cover our costs, but help out them as well.
Yeah, that would be the trade-off. Now, we've tried to be creative in the past. Those of you involved with football, drill team, band know that for many years, the Edney family would always bring like a grill to away games on varsity nights, and they would cook everybody a burger, and they just pretty much cost us whatever it was to buy 100 burgers and some grapes, and so I know they've tried to put the call out to see if anybody wants to take the mantle of that. So I do know that they're trying to be creative, but right now, so if I were giving you a recommendation, I'd say maybe put it and mull it over and think about it, but
I think we just gotta see some numbers, like what is that total budget for the year across all the sports? And you know, how much is it increase, and then how much would we save? We could be just knowing the numbers.
Because you can even set a set dollar amount, you can say, well, spend $8 a kid.
Well, we-
But
But you can't find none, so what we tend to do is we just have to kind of divide it and go, well, because otherwise some of them need to do that kind of thing.
So
Or,
can you not say it's in $9, if you want to keep it on minimum or whatever, you're on it, maybe you're up for the 11.
we certainly could do that. The problem tends to be, and some of them will give us a deal, but a lot of them will say,
No, I mean the kid,
oh,
like, read the difference, you see what I'm
that's
saying?
kid that went back first 9 and they paid 3.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. well,
Yeah, I think there's some challenge there, especially if you consider people and maybe their economic status.
It's gonna be a nightmare, because this one remembers just $3, the other one doesn't, and all that
Yep.
stuff, and then you get the whole, this,
This,
exactly, yeah. And
Sure.
Here she gets made fun of, it's.
My suggestion to you guys, we want to bring up all ideas,
Yeah.
but my suggestion is that I think this would be a good year to gather some data on some
100%,
ideas
100%.
and say, hey, here's where we are,
Yeah.
here's what we've done, this is what we think a good comparable
Yeah.
meal would cost, here's what you'd save or you wouldn't save.
I like that.
I think that's
I
what
like
it's.
that.
So the last few pieces, just to remind you of, as of right now, we still have the 550 of what we thought one day was gonna be lesser, but we've basically reserved that out of your fund balance, to meet any needs that come up. We've never had to touch that. So if our budget really was what the state said and there were no increases, we could, by the money that you set aside, if you still choose to do that, meet that purpose of the first 550,000. Say, we set it aside for that reason, that's the reason, so just reminding that's there. To point out taxes, our tax rate is going to go down this year. The M&O tax rate will drop to 0.7061. That's a formula the state gives us. We don't have a choice. They call it compression. It's because our value of property, which we don't have any control over, is set. It continues to increase, which is why you guys have continually approved lowering taxes, but everybody's bill continues to go up because you say we're charging less, but they tell them their value is worth more, and we don't have any control over that. But that will be 0.7061. We can't unfortunately change that one. So it might be nice to go, well, shucks, if we just charge what we charge last year.
Who figures the tax rate?
Yeah, the comptroller says, comptroller, TEA.
So it's not the tax assessor.
No, well, we use their data.
They give us what our minimum or our maximum rate. I mean, you could technically go below 7.0, but I believe last year we were 75, so we're actually dropping about a nickel in charge. On the INS, we were at 19, we promised a no tax rate increase. Technically, 19 possibly would be just a tad short of meeting our goals this year, but we knew that, we had some INS fund balance, which is why the idea was we use some of that fund balance down for a year or two and then build back up when more stuff comes in. So, while we could increase the INS, I don't think there's any value in that. It doesn't, we're not in a position where we have to. It also allows us to keep our word to the public that we won't raise it no matter what comes our way unless we got a good choice.
So we could raise it 4 cents and we still give the public a 1 cent tax.
You could. Now, you're right, you could, but here's the deal. Number one, you can only raise it, that's a good question. You can only raise it what it takes, what they call a rate of maintain. For us, it's probably 2 pennies or something like that. But the downside is that INS money can only be used for bond-related things. So you could say, well, let's get back 4 cents. They still get a penny, but unfortunately, that money has to stay locked in whatever. So building something that we've already got approval by the folks. So unfortunately, it doesn't help our operational budget. So our effective tax rate will go down 5 cents for all of our taxpayers, which I know will not feel like it when they get their bills because of value, but I do think it's important for people to hear and know that we're trying to do our part, or you're trying to, as the board, trying to do your part by lowering taxes. So, just so you know, this establishes almost a 2.5% minimum raise for every single individual. There's about a very small group of teachers that will only get, what it is it's a 2% raise and their step. So in some cases, that's gonna be 3% or 4%. In some cases, it comes out to about 2.3 or 2.4, but essentially everybody except that group, and there's a group of teachers who are like years 2, 3, and 4, they're still gonna get 2%, 2.34. But what we would point out is last year the board decided to pay every teacher in the district the same amount that those at 5+ were getting. So to a very large degree, you gave essentially an $8,000 raise to everyone last year. And so the 2.5 will be for every employee that pretty much. And so that does include this. So just in summary, the only thing that would add, and they can fill you in, but I'll fill you in. We discussed our numbers looking at first grade. The board has directed us to go ahead and add a first grade teacher because we can't pull one anywhere else. That was actually covered in which y'all gave me back in May for hiring power, but I would never add without talking to y'all. And so the board has instructed me to go ahead and let them hire for that position.
That's professionals there.
Yeah, y'all make sure he knows I didn't tell him. This isn't just me now. So to be honest with you, to take any questions you have, I'm just gonna say it's been a while since we had to look ugly when we passed a budget. It's gonna look real ugly. It appears that growth is going to help us, and it appears that growth may not stop. There's a form there, as of today at 4 o'clock, we're now up to 1093. So,
Yeah, I can do that, math.
yeah, that's just, yeah. So we're at 1093 now. First day was
82 or something?
Yeah, 1082. So from our last day to this week, we've increased roughly 40 to 45 students. Any questions I can answer about the budget hearing, and the way it's being spent, being used? Then if not, I don't have anything else for you on the budget hearing. You guys are close if you're ready.
You go ahead and take back over. Okay, all right, I'll declare us adjourned from the budget hearing meeting. And I'm gonna pass it over to Mr. Blunt, and since I jumped forward, we already did the budgets approved.
You already done it?
Yes, sir.
I second it.
The motion made, and a second. All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes. Now, Mr. Blunt.
All right, we'll move into presentations.
Okay, we don't have any official presentations today. I would point out just a couple of really quick things. I don't know that this falls under presentation. At the next meeting, we anticipate a representative from Berry and Clay to be here, and hopefully they will give you some drone footage or some pictures of where we are with current updates. We have a construction update later. We can talk about that. So yeah, if you have anything else, just.
Any public comments? Any public comments? All right, we'll move straight into action items. Consider the minutes for the July 27th, 2026 normal board meeting.
Make a motion.
Got a motion by Mr. Violet. Do I hear a second? Second by Ms. Mott. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion. We'll move to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider the financial statement for July 2026.
Question, the turf tank thing,
The what, I'm sorry?
the turf tank,
Yes, sir.
did we buy that? Did the Booster Club buy that?
So we had a contribution of different Booster Club But they just haven't reimbursed yet. They've got one student activity and combination.
So do we own that one or do we?
At least it's for, I think, 3 years.
So that value is 3-year lease?
Every year?
Every year, and it goes up the next after 3 because they gave us a discount right now. But Booster Club's supposed to be helping to do it. If not, I'm sure we can get.
The other thing is, if the clubs,
Activity.
yes, activity money, and if the clubs see the value of, hey, I don't have to do that, that was 14 hours, you just saved this, they'll use their activities to fill that. It'll be activity.
That machine actually can put logos on the field, so there's sponsorships there. There's plenty of opportunity.
Yeah.
I know what the coaches like, you know, public don't like it.
It's raised money and donated.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly how I said it.
Yeah, we want to make sure that it should pay for itself, but this is the year to find out, oh, wait, I have to spend 14 hours doing that? Yes, by all means, we'll sell an extra t-shirt somewhere.
No budget.
Any further discussion on financial statement? Do I hear a motion?
Move that we accept the plan.
Got a motion by Ms. Golden, and a second by Mr. Ritter. Any further discussion? No further discussion, move to a vote, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, consider the budget amendment for 2025-2026.
I'm going to let Michelle give you any specifics, but essentially, this is one of those things that just you amend after what was passed last August, and then you found out, oh, hey, we had more money here than we thought, we had less money here, we can officially move it, that's what happens right now. Michelle, you want to tell them?
So basically, we are recommending 5% per function increase, just to kind of make sure it's cover all these things. Some of them probably wouldn't have to go up that much, but just to make sure we have plenty of money appropriate, because we can be great at it. We overspend. I pretty much went through every function. And then we're probably gonna have to move about 100,000, those like spare files, that much for the cafeteria. And that's part of the numbers that.
We still think we're on track for this year to end in a either balanced or slightly positive. That we're on track for about 100,000.
Hopefully, and that's even with taking cafeteria.
And then we still usually get settled up after that, right?
Sometimes, sometimes they come back and they go,
That
oh,
would be a
hey.
small one. I don't expect hundreds of thousands of dollars.
One year we got 300.
Yes, we did.
It was awesome.
Yes.
That's what that is, basically.
Any further questions on the budget amendment?
Student travel, they, like there is a huge jump in that one this year. Since FFA is getting 90 kids in and out. Some of the bottom. Student travel, FFA. Well,
So if we do see that, the good thing is we can, as you'll see, there are lines we exceed,
Yeah.
and that helps decide for the next year. So if they really are.
Part of it, I'll do the plan next.
Yep.
Mainly meals.
Right, yeah.
Some like me. It's athletic travel.
Yes, our kids continue to do very well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Not unfortunately. Fortunately, they go deeper and deeper.
I'll make a motion to, amend the budget amendment for 2026 year.
Got a motion for the budget amendments for 2026 as presented. Do I hear a second?
I'll say.
A second by Ms. Robb. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion, move to a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. We will consider the amended budget for 2025-2026.
I know it feels like they would just do that. So the way the state does it is you have to pass an amendment first. Then, because you amended it, now you gotta go back and repass the budget. You just amend it. So even though you feel like, oh, man, how does this work? I use the word bureaucracy. And that's what you're doing. So now you have to pass what you just passed.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion, Mr. Fowler, a second, by Mr. Gregory, to accept the budget as presented. Any further discussion? No further discussion, move to a vote, all in favor, say aye. Motion carries. We consider the tax rate for 2026, 2027.
Okay, so this is what we just talked about, Ms. Michelle, please make sure I get this correct. So on the tax rate, this would be,
Consider the budget. Oh, no, I'm sorry, we didn't
We
consider
did
the
the
budget.
budget.
okay,
I use more.
Sorry.
Okay, so now.
So we're on the, let me,
Consider the budget.
Yes.
consider the budget for 2026, 2027.
Page 1.
so, this is essentially what we talked about in our budget workshop. These are the numbers that if you follow the template, that's what they say. Takes no growth other than what we, started with. It takes no grants if we can get fortunate there, obviously. And also assumes that we spend every penny on every single thing. So, really, this is kind of what you guys have been talking about from the very beginning. And that's kind of where we are.
Budget hearings, any further additions, questions, comments?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget as presented.
We've got a motion from Mr. Booker to approve the budget as presented. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And a second by Mr. Fowler. Any further discussion? No further discussion, move to a vote, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, now we'll get to the tax rate. Consider the tax rate for 2026, 2027.
So, because you've passed a budget, now you have to pass the tax rate that establishes that budget. And so that comes to the 0.7061 for maintenance and operation, which is our daily, this is how the day, you pay the bill, you pay the teachers, you fill the bus up with gasoline, diesel, excuse me, or whatever is propane. And then you add in your INS, which is our bond, which is maintaining still the 0.19. So your new effective tax rate will be 0.8961, and that is a decrease from last year of, I believe, Michelle, 5 cents. So, right, I'm sorry, I'm just covering them.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry. So,
Like, wait, you have to.
yes, I'm so sorry. So you will need to pass your M&O tax rate and your INS, Ms. Quincy's completely correct. I should have told her I was just doing this.
It's okay, I was like,
So,
Motion to approve the 0.7061 M&O rate.
yes.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Mr. Fowler and a second by Mr. Gregory to approve the tax rate as presented. We have one comment there, like I said, it's 5 cents decrease, so that's a good comment. Good deal.
absolutely.
Any further discussion? No further discussion, move to a vote, all in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Then we need to go into the INS tax rate. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the tax rate at 0.96.
Got a motion to approve the INS tax rate of 0.19 as presented. Got a second by Mr. Fowler. Motion was made by Mr. Gregory. Any further discussion? No further discussion, we'll move to a vote, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item G, consider the clearback policy for athletic events.
Yes, so Ms. McMurray is going to speak to you a little bit, just to give you some background. The chief chairs are obviously the same committee that we do in conjunction with, we have a board member, we have some committee members, we have law enforcement. And in our discussion, and I know she's going to do this is, the idea is that we would take this year and begin exploring and fleshing out what we would want. So I don't know if she's going to actually pass something tonight, but it does want to open that dialogue of what we're talking about and why. So, this is Maria, if you're okay, I'll hand it over to you.
today, so I can stay. All right, so, I want to talk to y'all a little bit tonight about a recommendation that I would will strengthen the safety and security of our athletic events. I'm asking that the board consider implementing a clear bag policy for district athletic events. This recommendation is based on the philosophy that we should guide everything we do, that we believe should guide everything we do when it comes to school safety, be proactive rather than reactive. We shouldn't have to experience a serious accident incident before we decide additional safety measures would be worthwhile. A clear bag policy gives us another layer of security that allows our staff to have greater visibility into what's being brought into our athletic facilities. This change was discussed within the Safety and Security Committee this past year. And the committee believes now is the right time to begin our implementation while our district is still small. We believe that may sound like a reason to wait, but we believe that it's actually our greatest advantage. Our events are still small enough that we can implement that without having to change lots of people's ideas, lots of people, many more spectators that may be coming to our community before long. Right now, we have the opportunity to establish the expectations while it's more manageable. I feel like the committee we discussed, we feel like it's important to give time because we want to educate our families, we want to train our staff, we want to work through the logistics and identify what works and doesn't work. And we all know that when we throw things on people, it's usually all complaints, you know? So people are going to be unhappy at the beginning, but if we give it time and work through what we believe will be successful, it can help. We have the opportunity to build a system correctly rather than having to fix it later if something were to happen. We want to, once the communities have the opportunity to understand the policy and prepare for it, we will want to move into full implementation. We would like full implementation to be able to start in the 2027-2028 school year. A clear bag policy is not going to eliminate every safety concern, and we're aware of that, but no single safety measure can do that, but it is another layer. There are many, I'm sure most of y'all, if you've ever been to a concert or a sporting event, many of them have clear bag policies. Many high schools are now moving to clear bag policies as well. In talking to other districts, we know much larger districts have clear bag policies. Some districts that are in our district, or some schools that are in our district that are moving towards clear bag policies, where we already have it. Newton has had a clear bag policy for quite some time. In speaking with Anderson last year, they are working towards building a clear bag policy. I know they've had some changes, so I'm not sure if that's still happening. But they had been discussing it as well. We're just asking that the board will support moving forward with the development and implementation of district-wide clear bag policy for athletic events. Questions?
This is the only event, backpacks.
Not backpacks, not school, just our football games. And we talked about it. Ms. Goffney was part of the Safety and Security Committee. You know, we talked about, well, would we only do it at the football field, or what's the point of that? So we think that, you know, it should be across all the gyms as well. So volleyball, basketball, things like that.
How do you enforce it? Say softball.
So another reasoning for, you know, I don't know what our dates are on softball and baseball, but as of right now, like softball and baseball are not places that we can implement a clear bag policy. We can't implement paying to get in, you know, those kinds of things because how it is. So we would hope that as we move forward with possibly a new location, that would be more feasible because it would be probably fenced. But I think that that's something that we'd have to talk through and figure out as well. And it is something that we've involved officers with also, because they do deal with a lot of things like football games. You know, that's kind of our biggest thing. They were definitely on board with that.
Would it be a good idea, Mr. Murray, as you guys talked about getting information that maybe we can ask questions to you or the committee, like, hey, what does this look like? Have y'all thought about this?
That's kind of why I made sure that you have a piece of paper so you can write notes on it, and maybe questions come up and you can reach out to myself, or anybody else in the committee. But the committee meets 3 times a year, so we meet in the fall. We haven't met yet, so in the spring and in the summer. And so I think that we'll continue to work on that during our meetings, especially in the fall. So if you have questions, we'll probably meet September, October. If you have questions, or would like to be part of that committee, we're welcome to do that as well. You can reach out. And Ms. Goffney's been gracious to be part of that committee the last 2 years that I've been here, so we feel like it would benefit in the long term. And I know it's not a do it tomorrow, go right. That's another reason we don't think that we're like gonna implement it at our first home game in less than a week. You know, we know that that would not be.
You start getting the word out there, when people are ready for it next year. Like you said, you've already talked to some of the other districts and stuff, and you might have already done that stuff, I think, all year. Like, that's simple it works, and how they implement it, how they, we see it all and stuff, so. I believe that a lot, we're trying to get the audience out and implement it and stuff.
One of the things Newton said that I know we struggle with here is they have one way of entry into the football stadium. You know, for spectators, that for us is kind of hard.
Right.
You know, so, I mean, even if we take a step back and maybe some things that we need to look at safety and facility wise, you know, we can work with Gentry and Dr. Hale and stuff, making sure that I think that would be important. That's one thing that we can share.
And that's my thoughts, just figure out logistics, gotta figure out the policy, and how it's gonna be, you know, how it's gonna be implemented. Personnel is gonna be, you know, some actions, tell grandma, on Friday night, to us to March, put up her purse, that kind of stuff. The education part of it, I mean, I'm not against it, but there's a whole lot of, I mean, like I said, you got a whole year, it's not a problem. I mean, it's just working through all the, just think all the logistics.
And signage also, one of the things that they have signage in the park one as well.
Could we do some signage for this year, just say, hey, FYI, we're looking at doing this year, you know? I don't know if that's a feasible thing.
We talked about, I thought through like in the spring, if we did like a kind of a practice run, after we kind of came up with some stuff and maybe said, hey, this is going into place next year, you know, if you want to start practicing it.
Yeah.
I'm sure most people feel like, no, thanks.
Well, they're talking practice, but that way.
That at least they
sign up for a
know.
year, you know what I'm saying?
Because we do have soccer in the spring, I don't know, you know.
Just get the word out there, it's key, and think about it.
And just, you know, things I thought about, 'cause I was just in my college volleyball game, and, I seen people do it. I mean, kids like there's kids walking in and out with backpacks that were just getting out of ball practice and came back in and watched. So how are we gonna deal with that? You know, there are all the things that are gonna be logistical. You know,
Like off the hand, I think, oh, what would we do? You know, like that isn't something that I think is just an easy.
I'll be serious like backpacker bag instead of watching the football game, whenever I go to the first home game.
So. All right, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're gonna table that one. So we will move into consider the resolution adding rodeo/equine as an extracurricular activity.
Okay, so this was just something, and of course, don't have put a copy of it in here. So what we did was there are some events that our students can participate in, and we reached out to kind of the way that they suggested we do this, similar to how we have an agreement with 4-H. And so we reached out, Unita was a district that had one, and what they did was they created some, what they call their bylaws, but they basically just said, hey, if students are involved with these things, you know, we're gonna treat those as if those two are extracurricular, and they're not necessarily fly-by-night things. They were, you know, like Texas High School Rodeo or some things. I got some feedback from Mr. Drain as well about some of them. There are some different ones. There's kind of two different ways to go with it. Some of them are specific organizations, but there are a lot of different organizations. Some of them, what they did with the resolution was, and I can pull that up. Their resolution was that they basically did, it had to be one of their, either related to that, or like we have someone who's been a sponsor for some of the local things that would work as well too. And so I apologize that I didn't put a copy of that in there, so let me pull up just so you can hear what they did as an example. We have more kids involved in more things. I will say that this summer I was involved with I'm so sorry, the Association of Rural Schools. And there are some rural schools that are running into some situations where they are not getting, we're having some students actually withdraw from schools because, you know, if the student was showing or riding in a lot of events. I think, yeah, well, and yeah, exactly. So I'll give you an example. If the history of NWISD, you guys know that for a very long time, when the gymnastics program was up there, it was common for gymnasts, sometimes tennis players who were extremely successful, to not be enrolled in public schools because they were doing gymnasts or they were doing those things 12 hours a day, those kind of deals. So because of that, it sort of became an idea that if you count this, if it's meets your criteria, then it can actually be an extracurricular, and instead of a student taking 9 absences, it can fit in that direction. And so we have talked about this before. There's kind of a little bit of confusion from TEA about our schools about, can you do it? Absolutely, that's not a problem. They just want you to do something to make it official so that, Jimmy starts running his own roping show Friday and has 4 kids over and call that an extracurricular. Meanwhile, we've got these other kids that are actually participating in this big event somewhere else. And so what they said was, they recommended, we went back and they gave us their recommendation, that they pass these bylaws, and what they said is, we recommend that the board approve the equestrian sports bylaws allowing absences to be excused as related to the events. And then what they did for those is they listed a pretty large group of, they said the purpose of this item is to get, approval of this, and then they said, they named, and then they did approved events, and they had a lot. Now, the only thing that I don't know that we would address is, we could certainly give you the exact same thing, and it's approved and we're ready to go. And if somebody goes between now and September, since I neglected it, I put it on here and I didn't make you a copy of it. But what we can do is we can make this retroactive beginning of this school year if somebody was impacted the first year, first month, 6 months, 6 months, I'm sorry, first month of school. But just to give you the background, they said the Texas High School Rodeo Association, the Junior High School Rodeo Association. Now, because UNA is located where they are, they actually use Louisiana High School Association as well. That could be more tailored to us for you to do it. To give you an idea, the Piney Woods Youth Rodeo Association, but they went with legitimate groups.
Right.
And so what you could even do is amend this as time goes on. If there is a legitimate group that was left out, they can do this.
And this would be something like the club leader would be kind of over.
You can do a club leader that way. The question would be is, what happens if someone, let's say, wants to do a Texas High School Rodeo Association on their own without the club leader actually being there? If you say that group is acceptable, they can. And so that's kind of that fine line, because obviously one person's not going to be able to go to every single event. They could never be here. So, my on-the-fly suggestion is that if we look at what they suggested as a model, that we could say, hey, we're going to, we recommend, I can read it to you, you recommend approval of it pending us providing you a list of approved associations. Or we can do it all in September and have the whole list for you, which you should have had if I had done it properly. And that's me dropping the ball. I apologize because I had it and I put it in my email, but didn't send it to you.
List that you're gonna give us.
Yeah. Retroactive.
Okay.
Do you guys have some names of organizations specifically? Can you list some of those?
I know the big ones that the people, Texas High School, which really doesn't affect some Fridays, but we're out on Fridays.
Yeah.
Which helps us there. But, your Houston Livestock Show rodeo, like Junior Invitational, your, pretty well everywhere you show animals, there's one that, at all, the big youth rodeo there. And then there's some stuff that goes on around Vegas. It's like the big invitationals that are they're good money.
It's toward December, we usually that much out of those kids don't tell them.
Like, like my daughter's already ahead, like, she won the polls for in 6th grade and junior high last year at San Antonio. So she's already in line to get a big scholarship, because they give out, big scholarships for that. She wasn't, like, she participates a couple more times, they don't have to win anything, she'll get a, like, $15,000 scholarship, a big scholarship.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Graham, but like you mentioned using last time, areas where we have people there, and we'll already have a person there to serve in that capacity, right?
Not necessarily. It depends on who's doing what and where.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yes.
those
I'm just
events
saying if you
are
had.
not at the same
Yeah.
time as the other events, because they try to put those events on days and nights where those kids aren't showing livestock.
Right, exactly. And we can still, we show majors, and there's majors that we show animals and they're trying to paint.
Correct.
You just need to be everywhere.
No,
This is
you're
no
right.
different.
Yep. This would be very similar to 4-H.
Yeah.
Basically, our
Yeah.
4-H
I
program.
mean, that's basically what it is.
The big thing is to get resolution and writing.
That's it.
Yeah, we
know.
Yes. We'll use their list to start with, and if there's some we need to make changes.
You need a motion.
So if you guys are comfortable, we can officially pass it next month and do it all at one time, and just, we can say.
You want to pass it with you, bring us back to you?
We can do that too, so I'll read to you what they basically said. The recommendation was, it is recommended that the board approve 26-27 New Waverly ISD sports bylaws allowing absences to be excused as related to the events listed therein. That's the entire thing that they use. Now, we've always used a lot more formal of a process, but that worked for them, and it's pretty simple. We can start there.
How many years have they had it, or who is this?
This is their well, now this one was listed for 25-26, but I know they had it last year for sure. I think they had it.
Ready to start, we keep kids in our classrooms, keep junior high with more kids. And those are usually very well disciplined kids, so. I'm not gonna steal your thunder.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
You got a motion on Mr. Ballard to approve the resolution as presented. We got a second on Mr. Greer. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion. We'll move to a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
And again, I apologize. I said I had it all set up, and then I didn't lose it, so my fault.
I will add, some of the extension agent was approved a bunch of this, so it's not something we ain't already doing, it's just we're gonna more pull it in-house where it's not quite as hard to chase down. Yes. All right, we're gonna consider and approve amendment to the janitorial contract. This is gonna be an adjustment based on our increase in square footage to several of the campuses.
Yes, this is no change. Technically, it's not a change in it, but I didn't want to, we've already put in the budget, so we've already acknowledged there. This is just because we've added more square footage to them. And so we just wanted y'all to know that this is what's happening, and not be misinformed or think, oh, is that on top of what we've already done? It's been in the budget since we first found about it. We knew it was coming when we opened New Pack, when we opened some of our new stuff. And we'll have to probably address this again in another year. We'll open 2 more buildings, so.
How much is it?
I'm so sorry that you pulled that up here.
We added 50.
I think, is that what we put it in there?
For the year, right?
Oh, yes.
Cost factor too.
Does that sound right? Yeah, 50 for the year. And
Yes.
So right now we're paying.
that's not.
40,000.
Those are all-
For the 50,000. 12 months.
Okay. That's the same.
What are we paying right now?
Around 40,000.
40,000, that includes personnel,
Was I
products,
sorry, 4 a month? I was
Yeah.
like, that's like-
Supplies.
That's not a good
No,
deal.
40,000.
Right.
Plus 37.
I know we've made a lot of changes, and we built some and all that. Is that something we need to maybe look at and get some other bids? I don't know when it goes.
We
And I don't know about right now, but if
Yeah.
you get a bid, like, get it after we get all that stuff finished, you know what I'm saying? Like an as is and as.
You can put it out to bid anytime you guys want to, or you.
I just don't know how it's been. It was been for a pretty while.
We have been looking for a while.
Didn't we rebid it up 2 or 3 years ago?
We looked at it a couple of years ago, but what they did was then they just started adding more to it and just said, hey, well, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. And so the biggest challenge, and Mr. Scott, you can bear this, the biggest challenge that they have has been when they lose. They have
high turnover.
they have a really
Personnel.
good on-site director now that will take care of things.
Yeah.
But like when they lose two people, it's just a rehire, retraining, and that tends to be when there's a problem.
I just wondered. I know
Yeah,
it's a
we can certainly put it out. I would recommend that we put it out probably in the spring if we're going
Yeah,
to.
100%.
so they have time to look at it.
Obviously, make sure you look at references before we make a different decision. If we decide what else.
So are y'all pleased with what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, they're okay.
I have no complaints.
My campus is really good.
I think it's been a little,
It's turned around since we got the new on-site supervisor.
Yeah, I'm sure that makes a large difference.
I know junior high has expressed that they're the happiest, but kind of like all things, you get somebody who's doing what you wanted, and you're like, man, this is the greatest thing ever. And it-
It's really hard on this campus because this campus is so big and so many little kids, and I don't think that they give enough people to this campus. And so the ladies that try to do this campus get themselves tired out. You know, like they have to keep it back with like little kids, so they have to wash the tables in the classroom. They can't just expect the kids to wash the tables. They eat breakfast in there, so they have to clean. And it's hard. It's a lot of work on this campus for two ladies. They have two ladies that have to do it.
Could we recommend with the new change?
That's the line.
2 to 3, depending on
Yeah.
the schedule.
They have
It's
floated,
very,
they're
between
like-
lunches, like it's hard
So-
for them to keep these cafeterias, especially Larry's. Like the cafeteria is a hard time because like they have to be down here the whole time. So they can't be cleaning bathrooms or doing anything else during that time. And then there's a lot of trash that comes with elementary kids.
Well, that's all, no,
Yeah,
maintenance
it's little
director.
boys in the bathroom, not peeing in the toilet, you know how that is.
I'm sure it's a money saving thing for them, but our concern is that we have clean facilities, so we can ask them to. That would be a good negotiating point when we look at, we want to change, that we need more people on this campus. If not,
I think it would really help too, like, nobody really asks me, but I do think it would help if there was a man here on this campus. Because just like picking up lunch tables and stuff during the day and moving that, like, that's hard labor on the women that are here as custodians. And whenever the trash is like heavy, like that's another big thing here is that they use the cheapest trash bags. And so they're like paper thin, so if you put a file folder in the trash can, it rips the bag and then they're doing double the work. So I think that that's part of it, that they don't realize that yes, you think you're saving money on trash bags, but then when they're having to do double the work, that's what makes them not want to stay working here. So that's the turnover part, you know? It's kind of some common sense stuff that they.
Will you get with them and kind of relay some of that?
I will.
Give her some of the stuff, relay it?
Yes, sir.
See what I can trade me.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Technically,
Motion to approve the amendment and for contract additions with Woodbridge.
You got a motion by Mr. Gregory, as presented, wait a second.
so
A second by Ms. Sculpey, any further discussion? No further discussion, move to a vote, all in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Executive session, I don't have anything, does anybody have anything? No need for executive session, no action to that executive, all right, information discussion items.
sure. So, let me talk first off a little bit about board goals that we've been discussing. Again, if anyone, some of them are very easy, quick ones, and some of them are long term, but they'll tie in also with our STAR scores. Again, as we have shared, we have an 86 as a district. That's currently our highest district score ever. The only thing is you could go back before they did reassignment. We did have an 86. But that was the year that they came up 2 months after that and said, oh, but this is what they call their what if score. If you were really getting graded on what you do, you would get 75. So what I would like to point out to the advantage of our staff, our students, our family is for the last 4 years, we've continually improved and gotten higher and higher, despite them putting more and more changes to us. So I believe our kids and our staff and our families, our parents, grandparents, whoever helps out, deserves full credit for that because, like I said, it's 4 straight years. We had an A-rated high school. That's also really the first A-rated school we had. Junior high this year missed it by 0.2, which was not funny, but it's that because I believe it was a year or two ago, I think you just did last year, that was right about what NWISD campus life was about. 0.1, 0.2, very, very, very close. So, take that as that many of our campuses are sitting on that. Any given year, you can take a step forward, a step back, because there's so many factors. So, I want to be careful of not overinflating one thing and then make sure, but the truth of the matter is our kids and our parents and our staff work really hard. They continually get better and better. And, so honestly, I just congratulate them, which is another step towards one of our goals of trying to have the entire district be a district. We're moving that way. We also have 9 total distinctions between the high school and junior high, which is a phenomenal amount. And so they've really, really done a great job. The other goals, you guys are welcome to come by. If you don't mind sending your text, email, or call to Sherry, we'll get you a badge ID that you can talk about that as one as board members. We've talked about some other things. And, tying in another board goal a little bit, kind of going on the construction update, they have paved and striped the parking lot that is located behind the visitors stadium side, which we will call what color, Mr. Gray? I know, I'm the same way. That's gray, right? That was white. Okay, that was white. So that'll be parking lot white. Parking lot white is ready to go. We plan on students using that as early as Monday for Meet the Bulldogs, and for the Love Ladies scrimmage. Technically, it's clear to go, so someone parks over there, no problems whatsoever. There's 100 and just north of 100 spaces plus 8 additional spaces for handicap. So it's already striped for 100 cars or buses, whoever needs to go there. The gray parking lot, which is the south/teacher parking lot, they've been doing work on that today. We've been told they should finish that this week, and then it will also be striped by hopefully this week, so that Monday we can allow students to park in gray and white toward the front. They will not have to park in the great circle of life, as I call it, which is the back parking lot where every student apparently thought parking in a circle was the way to go. And so there is a huge circle each day. And it worked, and it's not been a problem. But so the great circle of life will come to a conclusion parking wise. It's what we currently call maroon for this, and they'll go another step there.
Do you have any idea how many students high school have parking passes?
Usually,
By the end of the year, probably about 130, 150.
so we're going to be real close to meeting all the needs with this one. Obviously, we'll gain a small bit more as some projects come to conclusion, but we should be able to handle that this year. We will also put 10-ish, maybe a few more, maybe a few less spots from the faculty into that gray parking lot. And that will allow true visitors at the front. We can paint visitors blue or white or whatever, and have some spots for parents to actually come and be quoted as well.
Are you gonna let the seniors park in the new south parking lot?
I'm still trying to figure out who's going to park.
Probably gotta get it all laid out or
Star Student or something.
It's nice, I can take, use the Google, existing parking lot, use that as our diagram.
Yeah.
Next time, doesn't ever freeze. We've got drone shots in all of our.
Once we get started.
Once we get started, we can access, we can get shot.
I will say, knock on wood, everyone from the folks gathered in this room to our constable, even Mr. Nichols, bless his heart with buses, and even to some degree Mr. Carter with technology. I stated for the first week of school has gone remarkably well, and that's due to all their hard work. So yes, I observe a full round of they've done a really great job. Enrollment, originally I wrote this, we were at 1088, and as of today, we're at 1093. I don't think we're going to gain 7 each week. If we do, we may have a unique meeting come October. We do think it's quite possible that we will hit 1,100 Yeah, there are a lot of fast miles. What we're calling Building C, which is the additional classrooms at the high school, they have poured that slab, they'll be coming back in to work on that. We've already spoken with Mr. Drain, he, I think, I don't know how much he's had a chance to visit a little bit with Mr. Ray, but we're gonna get some presentations for y'all. We need to reach 6, and we'll talk about different programs through CTE, really your goals, what we can do, what we can't do, or what we can do, but will it count toward accountability, will it not, if there's conflict, you can be thinking through those. So we'll have a presentation for you that at some point this time. And the only other thing is, and I could be wrong, I sent you guys an email today, just letting you know. Region 6 sent me an email, and I received one over the weekend, this was the first I heard of it, that TEA pointed out that they would like you all to do training in the next 2 weeks. I have forwarded that email to you. I asked if, did I miss something, or that the first, that they had seen to hear of it as well. And they also did not seem to know that there was much ramp-up time for this. So it is an online training. If you need any assistance, whether it's signing up or how to sign up, please let us know. And if we don't answer, we'll find it for you. And I'll just leave that there, and I won't make any comments about the lead-up time and or what that actually is. But if we need any assistance, they say it's 5 hours. I have, yeah,
You can see it.
yeah.
Technical difficulties, right?
So anyway, I don't know if there's any, oh, I'm sorry, other thing is major events, there are a ton of events already happening for kids, going on. Volleyball hosted, I can't talk, volleyball hosted a tournament last weekend. We're gonna host a JV tournament this coming weekend. They won the silver bracket of their tournament, and so congratulations to them, we're going to start with them. Football had a scrimmage in Centerville, and as far as scrimmages go, it really was very positive. There was a lot to build on, and they did some really good things. They will host a scrimmage Thursday against Lovely. Monday is Meet the Bulldogs at 6:30 at the stadium. That will be band. Oh, so some churches, we were told that they represented more than one church. That that's the case. But on the 19th, which is Wednesday, is it Thursday? It's here in this room. I believe it's Wednesday. They just are going to offer anyone who would like to come up opportunity to just intercede, pray for kids, community, teachers, school districts about everything. So that's it's something that obviously ideally we support, but we don't have to allow that, so that if that's yes, ma'am. It's separate for churches. It's an evening here in this room. 7 o'clock. So that is an event. As you guys know, we can't call it an official the event, but all who members of the folks are invited to attend if they would like to. And it's Bulldogs at 6:30 on Monday. Yes, ma'am, that's safe. And home football game a week from Friday versus Hartford. You can see the Silver Stars, bands, the cheerleaders, football team. Hopefully you won't see a whole lot of the athletic trainers. You'll probably see some of them too. If he's providing water for the injuries. And I think that's all the events and stuff that I have.
I have one request.
Yes, sir.
So you were at the scrimmage test.
Yes, sir.
They
It will be an issue because even Centerville Stadium, the way they designed it, faces kind of that sunset either way. For a 7 o'clock game, so a large game.
Also, about a year, we just need to remind Erica, that last year she put her to.
Oh, yeah. It's,
I had her move it back, just remind her, put it up in the fence.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's all we have for you.
Next board meeting is when?
Next board meeting, I'm sorry, great question. So we will be back on our regular schedule, which is the third Monday, which is September 21. And if the board is accepting, we will return back to the board room moving forward, especially since a great many 4-H events happen on certain Mondays and a lot of conflict on getting people to get around. So if the board is acceptable to that, we will return back to the board room. Moving forward, unless we have a big event, like, hey, we're gonna have, like we're acknowledging several teams at one time. Hundreds of people showing up to.
I think at one board is good. But I think at some point before this year is over, that we should have a night when we express our appreciation to our campuses for the job.
Absolutely. We will come up with something to that.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Moore, adjourn. Second by Mr. Craig, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.